Both of those groups you have to buy absolutely every component for, and if you're just upgrading, that can be a little bit of a waste of money. Good morning and welcome to another wonderful group ride in Essex this morning. I was going to say it's fairly chilly, and as you can see I've got arm warmers on because it is a bit cold this morning, but Chris has decided to come out this morning in a single layer, although he has got arm sleeves on as well, but I've chickened out and gone for a gilet. Got to keep that cold air off the chest. But despite it being a cold one, you've still got to get the miles in. So we're out, we're on it, we're having a ride and we're having some fun. This morning we're off to our favourite cafe over in Arxton called the Mixing Shed, and we're actually already about 10 miles in, and I've just been enjoying the ride this morning, chatting the usual nonsense with the lads. Unfortunately though, just a few minutes after saying we're having a lovely fun ride, the wind has picked up and it's just started spitting with rain. We do not want this. I haven't brought my rain jacket either. There was absolutely no rain forecast today. Typical. The sun is trying to come out though. Try harder. Right, well we've made it to breakfast before the heavens absolutely open, so at least we'll be under cover to eat.
We don't know if they are going to open.
That's true. I'm just being pessimistic. But I do have an interesting topic to talk to you about on the way back.
We'll be the judge of that.
SRAM or Wheeltop, you decide. I'm going to give you all the information once I've had a bite to eat. That's a beautiful breakfast done. Unfortunately the wind hasn't died down while we were in there, and now we've got Arxton to climb. Let's get that out of the way and then I'll talk to you about the Wheeltop SRAM comparison. This might take a few minutes. Yeah, I think it's fair to say I haven't done much hill climbing recently. I need to get back on the indoor trainer. All right, 2-minute breather, and then we'll get back on the way. Right, so now that we've managed to get up Arxton and had a couple of minutes breather, let's talk SRAM versus Wheeltop. Now, as I've mentioned in previous videos, and as you may have seen, I have the Wheeltop EDS-TX, fully electronic, fully wireless group set on this bike. And I've said before that it is a fantastic upgrade option for anyone who's currently running Shimano, mechanical that is, and wants to upgrade to an electronic group set. If you don't want to have to buy a brand new crankset, a brand new chain, cassette, and all those gubbins, which you have to buy if you're upgrading to an electronic set, and you don't want to buy those if you've already got a bike, then the Wheeltop is a fantastic upgrade option, and it also comes in a rim brake version, which is also very good. But how does it compare to one of the bigger offerings like SRAM? And it just so happens that my good friend Chris has recently bought an Orro Ventura or Venturi? Yeah, one of those. An Orro Venturi, I'm not entirely sure what it is, but it has SRAM eTap on it. So over to my SRAM correspondent to learn more about it. So Christopher, how are you finding the SRAM Rival, is it you've got?
Yeah, it's good.
Comprehensive review there from Chris.
To be honest, it's fantastic. Going from what was probably a mishmash of 105, so I think my Giant's got 105 rear, I don't even know what the front crank is, Tiagra brakes, and I think Sora calipers or something. It's like a proper mishmash. To go from something like that to fully electronic, I'd definitely say it's a way for, you know, it's a progression forward. Just generally, especially with the SRAM, having an up on one side, down on the other, means that I could use my, I don't know, what, fourth finger, and still keep two fingers still on firmly on the brakes. So I'm not having to moving my hands too much in between corners, braking, coming out, changing gear. I'm not really having to make any real movements to do it, other than just tapping with the fingers. I think that in itself is a game changer. My head unit shows me the ratios, so it's synced up to my Garmin. It shows me the ratios, shows me what gear I'm in. If I'm not concentrating on my gears and concentrating on the ride, it beeps to tell me that I'm in my top gear or I'm in my lowest gear, so that I know that I can't change up or down anymore. So it's just more of a unconscious acknowledgement to what you're doing. It's just generally smoother. I think obviously that having a hybrid of parts, you know, a bit of an issue for that anyway. I do notice it's a bit clunkier, but I think that's an SRAM thing. They do silencers for the rear. I only appear to have one on, so you can hear it clunk on some of the other gears, but nothing that can't be cheaply sorted. People with the rival complain about the weight, saying it's a bit heavier. I'm not racing, don't really care. You know, what's a few grams here or there? So for me, it's the budget side, but it's a massive improvement. And then on top of that, the ability with the front crank to swap out the non-drive side for a power meter. I say relatively small amount. Nothing in cycling is a small amount. But compared to buying, say, power meter pedals, just changing the non-drive side crank arm with an inbuilt power meter I think it's only a couple of £100. So that's on the list at some point.
So as I said earlier, Chris has got SRAM Rival, which is 105 equivalent in the Shimano world. And although Wheeltop only do one version of their road group set, I would say it's probably a 105 comparable group set. There are some differences in the shifting paddles between the Wheeltop and the SRAM as well. Whereas I've got two paddles on the right to go up and down the rear cassette and one on the left for the front derailleur, Chris has only got one either side. He pushes one on one side to go up the cassette and pushes the other side to go back down the cassette, and then pushes both of them together to change the front derailleur. Now this might not be an issue for you, but it's worth mentioning that he said when he goes onto his turbo trainer now, which has mechanical shifting, he does find it a bit difficult to remember how to change up and down, seeing as he's so used to his SRAM kit, as I say, going up one side and down the other. You don't have that problem with the Wheeltop, and I appreciate that I'm clutching at straws here, but the Wheeltop is still very much like a mechanical shifting set where, as I say, you've got two buttons to go up and down one side for the rear derailleur and one button on the other for the front. So if you were to buy the SRAM Rival group set on its own as a standalone to fit it to your bike, you are looking at just over about £1,000, or the same in euros, which is probably, I don't know, $1,100–1,200, which at the moment is significantly more expensive than Shimano 105 Di2, which you can pick up, when I last checked a couple of weeks ago, from Merlin Cycles in the UK for just under 900 quid. But again, both of those groups you have to buy absolutely every component for, and if you're just upgrading, then you don't need that, so that can be a little bit of a waste of money. And another thing which is in the Wheeltop's favour is that neither Di2 nor eTap have a rim brake option. So if you wanted to fit Di2 or eTap to an older bike with rim brakes, that's not a possibility. That said, there is an older SRAM eTap group set, I think the last generation or the one before that, that does have a rim brake option. However, for that you're still paying a few £100 more than you can get the Wheeltop group set for. So going back to Di2 for a second, one of the bugbears that people have with that group set is that although it's electronic, it isn't fully wireless. You do have to have a battery hidden in your seat tube and then electronic wires running from that to the front and rear derailleur to make it all work. The Wheeltop is fully wireless. Now, unlike the SRAM, it does have the batteries built on to the front and rear derailleur. You cannot change those out, or at least you can't take them off to recharge them. You have to recharge it on the bike. SRAM ones you can take off and put in an external charger, which means you can have a spare battery. So if you find that you haven't charged your eTap, you go out for a ride and your rear derailleur dies, well, you can either put a spare battery in, or you can just change it out for your front derailleur battery. However, as I mentioned in the review video for the Wheeltop group set, Wheeltop do say that within the warranty period, if your batteries do die out completely and they won't take a charge anymore, they will replace them. Well, either they will replace them or the supplier that you got them from will do a warranty claim and replace them for you, which is nice. And one other thing in SRAM's favour, which I guess is only a minor thing, but it is quite a cool feature to have, is, as Chris said, his group set will talk to his Garmin head unit, so he can see his power levels on there. The Wheeltop doesn't do that with Garmin. I understand it will work with the Brighton head unit, but that is just a software thing, so I'm sure in time Wheeltop could update that, update the software, and then it will work with Wahoo, Garmin, Hammerhead, all sorts of other head units. Watch this space, I guess. Well, another 22 miles done this morning, and despite the fact that it nearly started raining and it was a little bit cold first thing, it actually warmed up and it was quite nice. I never ended up taking the arm sleeves off, and I am paying for it now because I am very, very warm. But yeah, what do you think? SRAM or Wheeltop? What would you go for? I must admit that SRAM kit does look very, very nice, albeit that it will cost you 1,100 quid thereabouts to buy one for your bike. And again, like the Shimano, there is no upgrade kit to just buy the electronic bits that you need, which is a little bit frustrating because I don't want to have to buy loads of bits for my bike that I already have. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Would you go for the SRAM or the Wheeltop? Oh, and one other thing, while we're talking of drivetrains, yeah, I think I might have left this bike out for a week last week, and yeah, take a look at this. Yeah, there's a cautionary tale to everyone. Wash your bikes properly, clean your chain off, and either re-oil it or put some wax on it at least. I need to re-wax that chain desperately, so that's what I'm going to go off and do now, and hopefully by the next time you see this bike, it's going to have a non-squeaking, non-rusted chain. But otherwise, I hope you really enjoyed this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.